If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is
Pat O.
Pat O. Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween to you too, Ashers.
Thank you. I mean, it's not Halloween yet, but like it might be by the time you guys. This is the Halloween special. It's Halloween,
right?
So, what are you going to be for Halloween this year?
I'm gonna try something. It's a bit of a stretch, but I'm gonna be a miserable suburban dad. a suicidal middle-aged white guy.
So what? 58% of America.
Right. I've been working on my costume for a very long time. I think it's finally ready.
Yeah.
I think by the time Halloween rolls around, I'll put the finishing touches on it, and it should be pretty fucking impeccable. So we'll see, though.
You're not dressing up for real?
No, because obviously that's not a costume. No, not really. I mean, I guess I'm not. Now that I think about it, I don't have anything specific to do. Like so that's the thing when you, I mean, as a parent, I'm sure you know, is that there's not just like Halloween's not just one day. It's like there's like multiple events, right?
Yeah.
So there's like the school thing, there's the Cub Scout thing, there's trunk or treat, there's fucking this, that, and then there's actually Halloween. So usually there's like kind of like a smattering of costumes that I go through. And I mean, being just the weirdo that I am, there's like, I mean, my house has a prop closet, so it's like I can easily throw something together very last minute, which is what I'll probably do. My son and I were going to be like samurai penguins, which is something that he came up with. I have those once again because I have lots of ninja weaponry and movie props in my house. We have like those coolie hats, they're called, which are those straw like dome hats that like Raiden wears. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Right. So we have that, and plus we have katanas because of course we have katanas. And then we were going to dress up like penguins. And then he got his penguin costume, which is one of those, which are kind of like the rage now, which I wish were popular when I was younger. But you know how now like a lot of these costumes are basically these giant inflatable things that you have like a little battery operated motor for.
Right.
And so he's got like a giant penguin costume, and then we're going to like accessorize it to look like a samurai. Which kind of leaves me in the dust because I can't do that because they don't make those that fit me. I'm 6'4", 300 pounds. Like my costumes have been homemade for the past like 25 years. You know what I mean? Spirit of Halloween don't have shit in my size. Right. So, I don't know. Long story longer, I have no fucking clue. I'm just going to sit on the porch and hand out candy to kids. And
wow.
That's all I'll do.
Well, I hope in my lifetime I never become that person.
I hope in my lifetime I never become you two. as long as we're just trading blows here, fucking,
I'm just giving you shit. If you don't dress up for Halloween, it's whatever. I mean, I do every year.
I do. No, that's what I'm saying is that like I have shit here. Like I can throw on I have Jason masks and werewolf masks and Squid Man masks. I have just tons of
Squid Man.
Oh, it's this one. It's kind of Lovecraftian. So it looks like a winter hat, right? Like a knit hat. But then when you put the mask on, it's got like alien eyes and then like little tentacles for mandibles.
Okay.
If you watch my short film Attack of the Pond Monster, the pond monster is wearing the mask.
Monster.
Yeah, that was my second Moraine Valley short film after Space Werewolf. Not as successful, although I did win the award for best screenwriting for it.
Oh.
But it's community college; it doesn't really count. But yeah. So I mean, I have tons of masks. So no, I will definitely be dressing up. But I'm just saying that like it's usually something that I throw to if I don't have a cohesive plan going into Halloween, I can just go to my prop closet and grab a bunch of shit and like have a fucking, throw something together last minute.
We'll take lots of pictures. Maybe you should be Squid Man, so I know what you're talking about.
Maybe.
I'm just saying. That's. Do you know what I'm gonna be? Have I told you yet?
No. What are you gonna be?
You don't know? Oh, wow. Any guesses?
A scarecrow?
No, it's a good guess. That's I was gonna
Chucky?
scarecrow you. No, I was Chucky last year.
I don't know. What are you gonna be?
I'm gonna be Mothman.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Well, I'm gonna be Moth Ma'am, but you know, yeah. So yeah,
That is
I I think that
that is
hey,
cute.
it is right. I
Yeah.
think that people probably expected me to dress up as Mothman a lot sooner than I am, but I just thought that usually I do some type of redhead, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna keep with that this year, but I just thought that why not Mothman? So that's what I'm dressing up as. I have a Halloween party every year. I'll be having it again this year. So that's one thing, and then of course we go trick or treating, and then I don't, usually like when I go out to things like we did I went out to the festival here in Fairborn. I put on my witch hat. I was a witch, I mean, so I also have plenty of things that I just kind of throw together for other things. So when we actually
Yeah.
trick or treat, I'm not sure what I'll dress up as yet, but I have a daughter and she's going to be I'm actually pretty proud. My 9-year-old kid doesn't want to be, all these kids now, they're following the trendy things. They're being something from, I don't know, Fortnite or whatever it is kids do. I don't even know what the hell kids are into nowadays. My kid's not doing that. She's being a traditional devil. And I think that's really cool. And so I'm glad, that things like that. She really likes very simple costumes, and I think that's really, well, not simple because they're classic, but I like that a lot because, like I said, she could be something that is very pointed and just generational. And the devil. I mean, that's everybody knows the devil. So
Right. Yeah, I always feel when I see kids doing that, like when there's some kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I guess growing up, I was a Ninja Turtle one year probably. I mean, if you want to talk about the ultimate pop culture moment costume, I was a California Raisin one year too.
oh, that's
Yeah,
good.
so that was, I'm sure you could figure out exactly what year it was based on it. Probably it was 88, 89. It had to have been. But I know what you mean. It does feel like kind of like, oh, you're that one guy from Fortnite. Like no one's going to remember what you are years from now. If anyone sees pictures of this, you know what I mean? It's going to be like,
Right.
why is he dressed like a llama or whatever? Like, you know,
Right,
it,
right. When you have to explain the costume, I think that kind of takes away the whole point of the costume.
right.
And so that's which I like, it's different when it's like cosplaying, it's a specific character or whatever, but these are costumes, you know what I mean? It's a different thing. So I don't know, I think it's fun. I mean, usually my kid craps out about an hour into trick-or-treating. It was not like that for me as a kid. We would go and then we would keep going some more, you know what I mean? Like it would be
Right.
over and we would still go. And like anymore, like around here, I don't know if it's like that over there, but like around here, everybody does beggars night on the same night. And it wasn't like that when I was a kid. I mean, the like little communities around your town, like they usually had them on different nights. So you could trick or treat like 2 or 3 times, and they don't really do that here.
No, ours was always Halloween. There was, I mean, even if it was on a Sunday or like the weekend or something or during the week, you still went out that night. But I know what you mean about, we would go out and you would walk around for hours. I think it depends on how depraved you were as a child or not depraved. Well, I was definitely depraved, but deprived. If this was your one shot at getting candy, like, yeah, you were out until the
You were gonna
fucking
be out.
cops brought you home.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was raised by a single mom, so I was already eating shitty like most nights of the week anyway. So like I would go out, but I wouldn't necessarily be out the longest of all my friends. Like if everyone lasted 5 hours, I would tap out after 3. By comparison, my kids today last about an hour, right?
Right.
Like they kind of go around the block and they'll walk a little bit somewhere else and then they'll come back and that's it. But my son gets a real big kick out of handing out the candy. He likes being the kid sitting on the porch, like, I guess he's kind of like his old man in that respect. He likes being
Sure.
the big shot, like, oh, here you go. Yeah, don't worry about it. Oh, look at what are you dressed up as? Oh, that's cute. All right, here's a Snickers bar.
All right, they get all the leftovers anyway that people don't take at the end of the night,
Oh yeah, he
so.
sits there and eats candy, and then for every like fucking 5 pieces he eats, he gives out, a little bit. But
Sure. No,
yeah,
I understand. I mean, that's how it is, right? We always, I mean, I live in an apartment, so we don't have trick-or-treaters at my home, but we always go to my mom's and we go to her house, and then afterwards, I mean, she ends up pretty much a whole bag of candy. She's like, I got this whole bag of candy you can have. So, yeah, it's not that. And I mean, my kid anyway, she's like, oh, candy, it's, we were too poor to afford candy. So if you like you said, if you wanted candy, you were going to be out there getting your,
right.
begging for your candy. My kid, she's like, about an hour. She's like, I'm done. I'm cold. I'm gonna go home. I'm like, okay. So I don't know, but it's still fun. I enjoy it. I like doing the trick or treating. I like seeing the costumes. Definitely in our neighborhood, we hit a lot of dead spots, and that kind of sucks. But I'm glad that there are still people that do still do it. I mean, it's not like it was when I was a kid, that's for sure. But I don't know. Maybe one day it will be. Maybe it'll be back to that. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. But yeah, so that's my Halloween plans. Anything notable happen over the weekend? I haven't asked you about your weekend yet.
Yeah, I hung out with Tobias and Emily in
Oh
Wisconsin.
yeah, how'd that go?
It was all right. They're kind of fucking weird.
Well, did you expect any laughs
I'm
or?
joking. No, no, no. They were very cool. No, yeah, we went out to Game Hole. It's a D&D, well, a tabletop RPG gaming convention. That I was hoping to go. It was supposed to be me and Toby and JC from Show Us Your Crits when I do that streaming stuff, and we were all going to meet up and have kind of a good time. And JC bowed out, so it was just me and Tobias going, and then I only really ended up going for one day. So had a break and met up with him and Emily for like an hour and just shot the shit. We talked about John Carpenter movies. Like, whatever. It
That's
was cool
cool.
though. It was cool. You never know when you meet your internet friends if they're going to be how it's going to transition into
Yeah.
real life. If it's going to be awkward, if it's going to be um, you know, stressful
Right.
and not good, or if it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
And just kind of like when me and you hung out, it was cool. So that
Cool.
was nice. Yeah, that was nice. It was
Did
nice.
you get as
And
drunk as you did when we hung out, or?
I am still sober, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been 90 days.
That's
It's
right.
been 3 fucking months. And going to there going to Wisconsin and not getting shit faced. I don't think that's happened to since I was 9 and my mom took me to Wisconsin Dells. Like, to be honest with you. Wisconsin was always where when I was in college, my roommate, his girlfriend went to Marquette, and we would go up there to kind of party. When I was a little bit older, we would go up there. I was in the band with Mike. We would play in Kenosha and Milwaukee a lot.
Sure.
And then for GaryCon, for the Dungeons and Dragons convention in Lake Geneva, we would go to that. So I have a long sordid history of going to Wisconsin and getting shit faced and rolling around with chubby girls. And this weekend was a split from that, for better or worse.
Well, good
So
for you. I mean,
yeah,
congratulations. Really?
if I can survive Black Wednesday, which is the Wednesday before. I know not every area of the United States celebrates Black Wednesday, but the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, it's a very big party night here in Chicago. If I can survive Black Wednesday and CrypticCon, I'll pretty much. I can't imagine what would cause me to drink again. You know what I mean? Those would
New
be those
Year's,
would be those would be the two big ones.
your
If I can
job, your family. I don't know. A couple. I'm just kidding.
I'd rather just be miserable, to be honest with you. It's
That's
much
good.
it's much more rewarding for me to be clear-headed and full of hate than to get drunk and forget about my problems. I would rather marinate them and despise everyone around me.
Wow.
Um,
You could also work through that, but that's just.
well, but yes, yeah, you're absolutely right. Thank you, Dr. Ashley. But to work through them, I think part of that is sobriety. So we'll see. We'll see what
Well,
happens.
everybody, Pato says it here. Sobriety is cool.
Well, I shouldn't use that word because that's not exactly what's happening over here. I'm just not drinking, but well, so we
Okay, now,
won't.
Pat O says not drinking is cool, and Asher says drinking is cool sometimes. So, just we're not fucking life coaches. Don't take advice from us.
Fuck no, God no. I'm not. I can't. I don't even want to say that I'm quitting because that would be terrible. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I've just commenting on the fact that it's been 90 days since I had a drink.
You haven't had a reason to drink, and that's good.
Oh, I've had plenty.
Oh, well. I'm trying to be positive about it. I don't know how to.
No, dude. I hate everybody. The world is so fucked up right now. I'm so
We hate
fucking
you too, Pat. It's
frustrated.
fine.
I know.
Except for everybody on Clubhouse. They all really like you, and that's intimidating, I know, but.
Yeah, well, then ask me to be on one, goddammit.
You've been on them.
It's been a while. It's been a hot minute. I need constant validation.
You hear that, Greg? Greg, you're so good at this, Greg. Validate Pat. He needs
that
it.
serotonin fucking hit. Put me on a panel with some fucking girls, except besides this one.
What? And, why? What's wrong with me being on the panel?
No, you're good. You always end up on my panels anyway. I like it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
You're my banky.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. I guess. Is that a compliment? I don't know.
Security blanket. Yeah.
Are you saying that I'm fat? Is that what you?
No, I'm saying you haven't been washed in 7 years and you smell like piss. But
yeah, that's me. Stains everywhere. Yep, you're right.
A little tatted around the edges. It's all right. It feels like home.
There's a hole at the bottom somewhere.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, interesting. No, I didn't have an exciting weekend, but that's
yeah, you did. What are you talking about?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
I did not. I didn't.
Right.
Did I? What did I do this weekend?
I was texting you at one point, and it was Thrill a Minute.
Huh. I don't remember.
It's all good.
It's okay. We can talk about it later, I guess. Because I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm not talking about that here. So anyway, yeah, so I didn't do anything, and that's fine. I am, just going through things emotionally, but like obviously you guys are listening to the show, so I'm still here and I'm still, doing the damn thing. I have really bad imposter syndrome, and I feel like I don't do enough, but like, I mean, I don't know. You listening to the show, do you have a show? Probably not. So I guess I'm doing.
I mean, honestly, probably. I would say I don't know. I don't know how many people listen to our show, but a decent percentage of them are fellow podcasters or.
Yeah, they might be. Well,
I understand what you're saying though. Like, I finished reading a book, and I finished reading Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which was an okay read. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to start reading anything else right away. I'm just going to not read a book right now. Do you know how difficult that's been?
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah.
Because I'm not reading a book.
You feel guilty. You're like, what am I doing with my life? I'm not reading.
I'm watching SNL. I'm watching American Horror Story. I'm interacting with my children, and I just feel like if I'm not constantly making something or bettering something, or I don't know. It's hard.
Have you watched the Chucky series?
I watched the first one. I have a series recording going on my DVR. Okay. I watched the first episode. That's it. But I will probably tonight or tomorrow or something.
Yeah,
catch up. Yeah.
Yeah. I've watched. I mean, I've watched the first two obviously while we're recording this. We're actually recording on a Tuesday, like old times. But I haven't seen the new episode yet. I don't know how I feel about it yet. What do you guys think? Let us know. Do you know how you can let us know? Pat, do you know how they can let us know what they think about the Chucky series?
We're not going to give out that number again, are we?
Yeah, 773-59-WEIRD. That's right. You can call us and tell us. I want to reiterate something. I think people are confused about the phone number. So when you call, I'm not going to answer. Pat's not going to answer. Nobody's going to answer. You're going to be greeted with a lovely message for me. So at minimum, call the number just to hear the message. But it is a voicemail box, so you do leave a message. It's not an actual live line. Now that could be different if we ever do a live special or anything like that. And you guys are interested in doing that, we could probably open it up and have you guys call us directly. But yeah, for now, it's just a voicemail. So don't feel intimidated. Don't feel like you don't want to call because you are scared that somebody might pick up. Maybe I'll just fuck with people one day and I'll just turn it on and start answering.
Can you do that? Can you have it? Wow.
Sure can. I sure can. So I don't know. Maybe I will.
If
But
CrypticCon happens, I think we should
do something live.
yeah, like if
Yeah.
we end up partying afterwards or something, I think it'd be funny to blast that out on social media, turn it on live, and then just see who calls, if anyone does. You know
If
what I
anyone
mean?
calls and see what they say. We could pass out cards at Crypticon and then like with the number on it.
You know, that's not a bad idea. I'm sure if you go on Vistaprint, you can get them made for like next to nothing. That's
Right?
actually
Something like
that's a
that.
really good idea.
Maybe we'll do something like that when we walk around and talk to people. But anyway, Crypticon, it's coming. I can't wait. I'm so excited. But yeah, we'll talk about what we'll do. But anyway, you want to hear some news?
Yeah. What
Some
you
news?
got?
I got this really cool video. I probably should have sent it to you beforehand, so I'm going
Just describe it to
to
me. Paint me a picture with your words.
it's really short, so I mean like but I will describe it to you. It's really easy. So allegedly this video takes place somewhere in Argentina. It popped up on a website. I think it's paranormalnews.com. And it is obviously takes place in a desert. Somebody is walking up on a calf, baby cow, calf.
Mm-hmm.
And the calf is being followed around, kind of chased by a ball of light.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ball of light maybe sees the person and decides to leave and leaves. Argentina, why is this interesting? Argentina has a really, really probably the highest in the world rate of cattle mutilations.
Does it now?
Yes, it does. So, what I don't know. I just sent you the video. It's really, really short. If you want to check it out, you can. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was weird. I've heard of people reporting, seeing balls of light in different instances of high strangeness. It's just kind of one of those things that people see. But I don't think I've ever actually seen one caught on camera. I've seen like orbs, and this is not that. This is something different. And I've never seen anything quite like it. Again, the source itself is hard, but when you look at the actual video, like it's just it's not from a big channel. It doesn't have a lot of views. Like this is fresh off the ticket. So I'll post that for you guys down in the description.
This looks real. I would say this looks that looks very real.
It's fucking weird, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of contributing factors too. The way that it's shot, it's not it doesn't look overtly staged,
Right.
but at the same time, it looks like what it's proposing to be, which is somebody having a cell phone on them, taking out and recording it while they're walking quickly towards something.
And see something fucking weird, right?
Yeah, it's not bouncing all over the place, but at the same time, it's not like Steadicam drone shit.
Right.
It doesn't look like it's Photoshop or After Effects or anything like that. Definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I thought that was really cool. Yeah, because I'm like at first you're like, what am I looking at there? And it kind of looks like maybe like a plastic bag, but it's not. And like as it kind of starts to move away from the calf, because again, it's like really kind of following this calf around a little bit. It's like chasing it, and then I don't know. Then the guy or the person, I guess I shouldn't misgender them. I don't know what they are. But this person pops up and this thing kind of, I don't know if it notices or what, but then it's like, okay, gotta go, and then kind of starts floating away. But then like the report is like as the video goes on, it just kind of slowly disappears, like it dissipates and just kind of leaves. And like you can see that kind of, I mean, it ends before that, but you can kind of see that. But I'm sure they were freaked out. What's going on over there?
I'm posting it to our Twitter.
Oh, okay.
So that people can actually like.
Is that the music that goes with the video?
No, that's the ad that popped up afterwards.
I was like, I didn't know there was music in the video. I didn't listen to it, I guess. But yeah, very cool. So yeah, definitely check that out. It's gonna be on Wednesdays We Talk Weird Twitter. I'll post it in the description, and then I'll probably post it on social media as well. So there's that. So that I thought that was neat. Another one that I wanted to talk about real quick is this report that came out, 135-page report on the Storm Area 51. Do you remember that? September 2019 when the internet created a Facebook event to Storm Area 51, and like 150 people show up. And there was a lot more interested in the event. People were kind of wondering what was going to happen. But 150 people did show up. They kind of just ended up having a rave out in the middle of the desert and actually stormed Area 51. But the government took that shit seriously, and they were ready to kill somebody. Like they were ready to mow everybody down if that's what they had to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, the feds just released this report, showing kind of the plan in place and what they were going to do in case anybody did attack, or try to cross that barrier. Nobody did. One person got a little too close, and he was arrested and detained. But then they let him go. I mean, so he didn't die. Nobody died. But yeah, what did you think of that
Um,
when it happened? I don't think we've ever talked about it on the show before.
yeah, I mean, I think it was so here's what I think happened. I think someone started it on Facebook as a joke and it caught on. And like you said, the government didn't know whether or not these, like, because Facebook says that there's 350,000 people that said that they're interested in showing up at this, or they're going to show up at this event. And there's another 150,000 that are interested, and the government, being as out of touch and archaic as they are, probably thought those were accurate numbers. But any punk band knows that for every like 50 people that say they're coming to your show, maybe 2 show up. So like I'm sure the government was like, oh my god, look at all these people that RSVP to our party.
Yeah.
and thinking that, like, yeah. So I and then like the guy went on Facebook and like canceled the event and denounced it. And I'm sure he was gotten to where like somebody gave him a call and was like, listen, motherfucker, like, you are not going to storm Area 51. At the very least, you're going to get people killed, and
Yeah.
that will be on you. So you need to stop this. And then I think when it was fuck time, no one really showed up, and I think the government looked and realized and was like, okay, these people aren't going to do anything. They're not going to crash the gates, But if 100,000 people had shown up, yeah, you can overrun. What do they always tell us about the Chinese? That there's so many Chinese people they could take over the United States if they all had sticks in their hand and walked forwards in a straight line. You know what I mean? There's not enough bullets for all of them, and I think that's more often than not the case, right?
Right.
If you get enough people together, they're going to overthrow any group, and any security force. Enough just bodies can overthrow any security force, let alone if those bodies are armed and organized. And mind you, this all happened during a period of general civil unrest in the country. It was during the Trump administration. So I can understand their concern, and the fact that they would have contingency plans in place if things went sideways makes perfect sense to me. The fact that it didn't go that way, little heartbreaking, because I think I wasn't there, but as a guy sitting on his couch in Chicago watching the news, yeah, I would have liked to seen fucking a bunch of people showing up and started some shit. But I didn't expect it to happen, and I'm
I was
glad.
at the Mothman Festival that weekend, but we had no service at our Airbnb, so we didn't know what was going on. But, we had talked about it. We're like, maybe we should go, but we didn't. A similar thing had happened locally, and it ended up making national news. And that was that there was a Facebook event created, and I think it was 2019, that said that Limp Bizkit was going to play a show at a Sunoco gas station on 420. And, again, this was local. So what's funny is that Ivy, the old co-host of this show, she worked at that Sunoco gas station at the time. And so, she kind of had an in as to what was going on. Now, where the Sunoco is located, right across the street from it is this empty lot. And so thousands and thousands of people said that they were going to go to this Limp Bizkit show that wasn't happening at a Sunoco gas station. And people fucking stuck by it. Like, people were talking about it on all the local Facebook groups and all this stuff. And people were dead serious. They're like, no, seriously, Limp Bizkit is going to play this show. And so the day came, and she was off work that day. And I went over to her house, and one of her coworkers said that they had shut the gas station down because people showed up. Lots of people showed up, and we went, and it wasn't a crazy amount of people. Probably 100 people were there for a fake show.
Are they from Dayton? What was the connection?
No, there wasn't any. It was just something stupid that somebody created, but there's t-shirts and everything. Like, you can still buy them.
Let me know. Send me a link to one of those T-shirts. I will buy one of those
Okay,
T-shirts. That's
yeah.
awesome.
It's like I went to the Limp Bizkit Sunoco tour or whatever. I mean, there's all kinds, and yeah, it was big. It was like I said, it was national fucking news, and people still talk about it to this day. And so the internet just finds stuff and it runs with it. I believe it was this year. Yeah, this year they had the Josh fight. Did you see the Josh fight?
No.
Oh my God. So some guy on Facebook found a bunch of dudes. I don't remember his last name. And I know people are going to yell at me, but it was like Josh. I don't know. We'll say it was Josh Adams. So he went and found all these people on Facebook with the same name as him, Josh Adams. And he sent them a message and he said, 1 year from today, meet me at this location and we're all going to meet up and we're all going to fight. And the person that wins gets to keep the name and everybody else has to change their name. And everybody was like, some people were like, no. So this he took a screenshot of it, okay, and sent it to people and showed everybody, and it went viral. And so it ended up becoming a real life event. Read about it. It's actually super fucking wholesome. It became a real life event. All the Joshes met up at a location, and it wasn't just Josh Adams anymore, whatever it was. It was like they had the Josh Adams fight, and then they just had the Josh fight, and it was anybody named Josh.
Oh, I
And
heard about this.
yeah, and they all took like pool noodles, and I don't know, they just had this event, and a young kid won the Josh fight ultimately, some little guy, and it's super wholesome. They picked him up, carried him on their shoulders. It was great. But yeah, I mean that was another thing that the internet takes and just kind of runs wild with. But anyway, I digress. The feds were gonna blow some people the fuck away. They were prepared to annihilate your asses. So moral of the story, don't try to storm Area 51. I'll be honest with you. Like, yes, you might be able to get enough people together that would want to do it, but all they have to do is, throw a fucking bomb at your ass, or, they got guns and we don't like that, so they got tanks. I wouldn't try to do that again, to be honest with you. So that's where I stand.
Yeah. I mean, I think that by the time the fact that this was publicized so far, I mean, I think this would make it good like 20 years from now.
Oh,
Let's say
yeah.
disclosure happens next week, and then we kind of deal with the aftermath of that. And obviously Hollywood starts making movies about everything once this, the tapes have been released and all this shit.
Sure.
I think that there would be a pretty funny movie about the government's response to that. Like, I could see there being like a road trip movie where two, Army privates have to transport, Bob the alien to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base from Area 51, and they have a road trip, and the car breaks down along the way, and it's like planes, trains, and automobiles, where they got to get the aliens out of Area 51 prior to this fucking like storm the base thing that never happened. I'm sure there's a frantic scramble to get stuff out of the base just in case it was stormed, so that nothing would be found in there. I bet there's some humorous stories about that, or maybe not. Maybe I'm just predicting. I don't know.
No, that's okay. I just, like I said, I mean, I saw that. I don't think anybody's surprised to hear that they had a plan, just in case things did go bad. I mean, they were worried. They were worried about, even though I think that they knew that this was just a bunch of chuckle fucks on the internet, they were concerned that amongst the chuckle fucks were going to be actual terrorists, and not just American, right, but even from other countries, you know what I mean? That just kind of tried to blend in and infiltrate. But none of that happened. Like I said, one person was arrested. They were let go. Everything turned out good. So, I mean, that was that. But like I said, they will kill you. They don't care. So
no.
You're literally just a social security number to them. So
right. And you're storming a government installation. I mean, they would be well within their rights, even if it didn't have the UFO, connection. If you had picked any military installation and said, guess what? We're going to try to storm it. Yeah, you're going to get met with the same response, So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I got one more piece of news that is vital, but unfortunately, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't have a lot on it right now, and that's my bad. On October 19th, a big press conference took place, and it was kind of a big deal. So a United States Air Force officer has come forward and said that he had filmed a flying saucer shooting light beams at a nuclear missile and he was forced to cover it up. So it wasn't just him at this press conference. There were multiple, military personnel that had came forward and spoke on some, matters. But this guy, he came forward and said that, he was recording, I don't know, something that day. It doesn't matter. Once he had the video, he turned it over to his superior, and he was called in shortly after, and he was ordered to never speak of it ever again. Now, initially, he didn't understand, and they showed him they showed him the video, and they were kind of pointing out what was going on in the video, and he thought that he was being pranked. He didn't think that it was real, but now he has come forward. I think this was in the 1970s that he said this happened. But yeah, now he has come forward and he's been openly talking about it. Again, this was a bigger press conference. It wasn't just this one guy, it was a couple of other military personnel, really important people. And, they've said some things, but like I said, I haven't been able to watch the conference myself, but I will post that link also. I do have a link to it. But yeah, pretty crazy. I mean, are we surprised anymore, though?
No.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's not. I'm not gonna say it's boring. It's not boring at all. It's very interesting, but it's not shocking anymore.
Right.
So, but I don't know. We'll see where that goes. I mean, we haven't had a response yet from anybody so far. We've only had that one press conference. Just like a couple months ago, we talked about that lady who, she also held a press conference talking about how she was military personnel, but it was just her, and this one is not just the one guy. It's a couple of guys talking about things. So, I don't know. I'd be curious to check his credentials out and see, obviously he should be able to prove, that he was a part of this at least, and, see where that goes. So that's interesting. Lots of UFO news this week. There's always more UFO news than there is like cryptid news or, I mean, I guess in cryptid news, there's been a bunch of species that have been discovered, but I don't know. I just feel like nobody really uses that as evidence for cryptozoology, which is weird. But weekly, there's a lot of new species of animals discovered all the time. And so for people to pretend that it would be out of the norm for us to discover something new, well, it's not. We do it every week, multiple times a week. So I don't know, there's that. Maybe I'll start sharing those. Do you guys want to hear more about those? Or maybe you just like the more of the UFO news? I don't know, but you can call us at 773-59-WEIRD and tell us what you think. So it's going to be drilled in people's brains. I want it to be to where people have a strange encounter and the very first thing they think of is our phone number.
I think if we don't make business cards for Crypticon, we should make those flyers where you can rip off the little things at the bottom.
Ooh, that's also, we should do both.
Yeah, that'll be the cheap and easy DIY thing, and we can plaster them in the area surrounding the convention.
Just get note cards and write it down on the note cards. No explanation, just super mysterious. Just write down a phone number on note cards and hand them out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, it's some ideas. But anyway, so because it's spooky season, I want to talk about some spooky season urban legends and things. Really, I did this episode because there's one line of thinking in particular that I really wanted to touch on. But I guess I didn't know how to do that, and I didn't know if it would make for an entire episode. So I just thought that maybe we could talk about different things. Last week we talked about things that we had grown up with as children, stories and stuff like that, that were personal to us and local to us and things like that. This is kind of in that same vein, except I think that these are a little more widespread. Pat, do you have any personal anecdotes of things that you would hear around Halloween or any Halloween or anything like
that? Something that popped up, I guess, in the early 90s. So when I was like, a tween, to a baby teenager, is the concept of Devil's Night.
Okay.
That was something that I had never heard of before The Crow. And then when The Crow came out in 1994, so I would have been 13, that was a concept that I was introduced to and ended up being a real thing. I guess in some parts of the country it is. It's not something that's like, I guess, observed is the right way to put it, but something that's done everywhere. It's kind of a Midwestern thing.
Sure.
Detroit, Philadelphia, not I guess so much Chicago, but anywhere where people choose to do stuff with it, they can. But basically, you go out the night before Halloween, October 30th, and you create mischief. And mischief usually falls in the category of like misdemeanor crimes or even potentially arson in some cases. And that was kind of part of how the teenagers and the kids in my neighborhood celebrated Halloween. Um, the stores in my area would stop selling shaving cream like the day before Halloween, or they,
Okay.
you know what I mean, and like because kids would get in shaving cream fights. Did they do that by you?
Yeah.
Yeah, where you would like take a needle and you would stick it, and you get a can of Barbasol, and you'd put a needle in it, and then you would light it on fire, and it would melt the thing. So if you use shaving cream kind of naturally, it just kind of balls up in your hand when it comes out.
Right.
But if you burn the spray nozzle a certain way, it'll actually like projectile,
Mm-hmm.
like shoot out. So then we would get in shaving cream fights, or we would put it on houses or sidewalks. And the thing about shaving cream is that if you leave it there for long enough, it would like stain the sidewalk.
Oh yeah.
So that was, I don't know how much of a nuisance that was where I grew up. I mean, it's not like, it doesn't really cause like property damage, but whatever. So that was the only thing that I was kind of like a myth or something, was this idea of Devil's Night and vandalism on Halloween.
Yeah, it's just kind of more of a tradition, and it's not really rooted in anything in particular. I mean, I've heard of Devil's Night. It's you go out and you toilet paper the houses, and you baloney the cars, and so
Baloney,
you never
baloney the
heard of
car.
baloneying the cars?
No, why would you do that?
Supposedly, it takes the paint off. I don't know if that's true. I never baloneyed cars, but if you put a piece of baloney on a car, it'll take the paint off the car.
That's funny.
That's what I've always heard. Or egg the houses or whatever.
Right?
That's
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd always heard baloney on cars takes. I mean, like I said, I didn't. I guess I was never that destructive child or anything like that. But well, I mean, that's when you would smash the pumpkins, because then people would, they don't have their pumpkins to use for decoration on, Beggars Night. So I mean, I think I think you're right. It's kind of a weird unspoken tradition, and nobody really knows. I guess maybe it could have been because of the crow. I was born in 91, so I don't know. I don't know about that.
You're
But
so little. Yeah, a quick Google search does say that baloney does peel the paint off cars. You have to
oh,
leave it on like overnight though.
well, right. So you do it the night before, and people wake up in the morning and they're like, "Oh, there's baloney on my car."
Yeah, it's a easy way to polka dot car.
Wow. Yeah, I never actually did it, so I don't know. I mean, I'd heard people, heard of people doing it, but yeah, I didn't know. But yeah, I mean, you're right. That is a very, Halloween tradition. The kids act up and they do certain things. I'd always heard that like black cats get extra tortured during Halloween. Like, you see that post going around on social media, like, "Oh, don't let your black cats go outside." Well, let me tell you something. First of all. And no, you know what? No. I know you, not you, Pat, but I know you listening to this who's going to get offended, and you're going to come on here and you're going to try to defend this. Don't let your fucking cat outside anyway. Because for one, it's dangerous for them. A cat that you let roam outside has an average life expectancy of 3 years compared to upwards of 30 years that your cat could be living. For two, it's fucking terrible for the environment. Don't let your cat outside. If you live on a farm, that's cool. Like, or if you have an enclosed space where your cat can safely go outside, you can do that. Also, I'm gonna invoke my inner Bob Barker: spay and neuter your pets always. But I'd always heard that black cats were tortured most, by neighborhood kids and things like that during Halloween season. But it's not true, actually. Cats are just tortured all year round, and that's why you shouldn't let them outside, because people for some reason see them as a huge nuisance. Well, which
Yeah,
they can be, and they will
as they
just
should be.
fuck it right, because your pets shouldn't be roaming around outside, and people will poison them, people will shoot them with BB guns, people will do all kinds of fucked up things to your cats if you let them outside. It's not just Halloween time; it's all year round. So there's that. Um, but black animals in general, black dogs are the least likely to get adopted, as well as black cats, because of the superstition surrounding it, which we know that's ridiculous. Black dogs and black cats are beautiful.
I
And
have a black dog. What's the superstition surrounding him?
it just depends. Different people, like black dogs are, seen as like kind of a harbinger of doom type of thing. We've kind of talked about that.
Yeah, I get. You know what? I never made that connection. I
Yeah,
never made that connection. That's
and there are
crazy.
people that believe that they are. So like people think that they're a bad to have around, and they're not. They're great. So
Mhm.
you should adopt all animals of color, and that's what we support here on Wednesdays. We talk weird. And but yeah, so that's another one that I guess I've always heard. But as far as like, I guess urban myths, being a kid, um I don't think like we ever had anything that was like super scary. And we were never really intimidated. I mean, the main reason why I wanted to have this episode was because I wanted to talk about candy that's been tampered with. That was probably the number one. Like, we went trick or treating and we weren't allowed to have a single piece of candy until our parents went through all of it and checked it to make sure that it was safe. And I didn't really understand what that meant. But because they were talking about, well, people poison candy because they just want to hurt kids, or bad people, or they stick fucking needles in your Snickers bar, and razor blades in your apples and whatever. And I found out as an adult that my parents weren't checking the candy. What they were doing was they were yanking half my shit. And that's why I didn't eat it. So, I don't know if people my age now who grew up with, similar parents, I don't know if they know that that's what their parents were doing. And I think that people are still stuck in the mindset that you should check the candy before you let your kids have it. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. If I went to the grocery store a couple of weeks ago, and I got cheese balls, a container of cheese balls. And when I went home and I opened up the lid, I had noticed that somebody had actually, and I don't know if somebody had, but the seal was open, and I threw that shit away because you just never know, right? It better to be safe
Right.
than sorry. So like the same thing with candy. Like, I wouldn't let my kid eat an already open package of candy or anything like that. As a matter of fact, when we were trick or treating one year, my daughter had gotten confused because it was a group of like teenage girls sitting on, passing out the candy, and these are suburban teenage girls. I don't think they meant any harm, but they had gotten some like really gourmet chocolates, and they weren't wrapped or anything. They were just kind of in this box, and they weren't handing them out. But my daughter was going for the gourmet candy because that's what she thought was being handed out. And she was like, "Oh no, but you can take one," and she let her take it, and I did not let my kid eat it because I didn't know.
Yeah.
So that was what I was doing. But that doesn't really happen.
Well, there was when I was younger, way before you were born, but there was like aspirin tampering. Like
Oh
that
yeah,
is
the Tylenol guy.
yeah, that is something that happened, and I think that when y- this whole check your Halloween candy, people are doing this, so they're giving out, they're dousing, Snickers bars with LSD or whatever. I think when I got older, I just assumed that was a response to the Tylenol stuff, you know. Um,
That's a good point. No, that's a really good point. I mean, because there were cases, like I think like 8 people died from that.
yeah, I mean, I've been drugged before. I think I told this story on an earlier episode, but when I worked in the hotel industry, I had someone offer me a bottle of soda once, and I drank it, and it was spiked with like liquid G or something, and I got real fucked up. I had a real interesting night at work, but luckily I me, so I knew I was on drugs. I wasn't like
right.
freaking out because like, oh no, I'm tripping out of nowhere. What's happening? I put it two and two together fairly quickly. But yes, number one, there are people. This is what we know, right? Number one, we know that that there are people out there that like to drug unsuspecting individuals. Bill Cosby, for one. All right.
Sure.
Number two, we know that sometimes these people find themselves in positions of power, like with the Tylenol guy. Like, didn't he work at? He worked in a pharmacy, or the
I
distribution
believe,
center.
I don't know for sure, but I believe that they never found out who it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I can understand. Obviously, it's not like we've canceled Halloween. It's not like, we no longer go trick or treating. Like all these things still happen. But I can understand, knowing what we know about the world, that, there being kind of like a old wives' tale, an urban legend about check your Halloween candy. And I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing, you know.
Well, so I decided to dig deep into this,
Okay.
and I wanted to figure out, and I got a couple of cases that I want to talk about. So the most notable one that a lot of people refer to when they're talking about, when they're debunking this Halloween candy myth is, there goes my neighbors again. Is they call him the Candyman. So in 1974, this guy was, he had wanted to claim life insurance on his kids. So he took pixie sticks and emptied them out a little bit and then loaded them with potassium cyanide. And he had 5 of them in total. So he had a son and a daughter. He gave, one to each kid, and then he gave the 3 others out to random people, or I think it was probably one of his daughter's friends or something like that. Doesn't matter. He gave them out to other kids. And the 8-year-old, he ended up eating the pixie stick, and he didn't like it. He said it tasted weird. So then it prompted the other kids to not want to eat theirs, but he did. He ate the whole thing. And then he died. And so they found out pretty quickly that, it was dad. And, the reason why he did it, they were kind of able to pick apart that he did it for the life insurance money. And
Wow.
yeah, so, that's the reason why he did both kids and then 3 others was to make it look like there was somebody in the neighborhood, to get the heat off of him. So, I mean, he really thought that one through. So that was real. I mean, so he did do that. A lot of these cases are, actually pretty much all of them are cases of a close friend, or family member doing this to the people already in their lives. It's not really the unsuspecting victims. But again, like I said, I was curious.
Mhm.
Um, a less serious case. Actually, that's probably the most serious case. That we've seen. Again, the most notable. A lot of people like it. He went to prison. I think he ended up on death row. They killed him. He's dead now. But another one that's kind of silly was that there was a dentist who, he was charged, but with a lesser known charge because he was giving out um candy, or that he was giving out laxative pills that were coated in candy. And so I don't know why, just because I couldn't really find an explanation as to why he would do something like that, just because it was funny. Devil's Night, I don't know.
Yeah, but you're not there to watch them shit their pants. How funny is it really?
Because
Like,
it's going to happen in like 3 hours.
no, I'm more visceral than that. I want to see it.
I mean, I guess he didn't want to kill people, but he wanted to cause some problems, and that he did. But yeah, that was 1959. So I mean, that predates the pixie stick incident. Another one that does was that there was a woman who was giving out inedible items to kids who she thought were too old to trick or treat. Now that one is kind of unsuspecting, which is bullshit anyway. Listen, I fucking let people trick or treat. I don't care if you're an adult. I don't care if you're a kid. Let people. Come on now, that's just ridiculous. But she was giving out things like steel wool, and also rat poison. So, uh, it wasn't, like I said, some things were harmless, like steel wool, and some things were very harmful, like rat poison. Nobody died, but she did get in trouble. So there was that.
So here's what I think all this comes down to. There are crazy people in your neighborhood that that may have inherited property and live amongst you. You know these houses, okay? You know your crazy neighbors. Those are the houses you don't go to.
Yeah,
The problem with shit like Halloween is you're literally going door to door. Ask any Jehovah's Witness or pizza delivery guy. When you knock on a stranger's door, you don't know who the fuck is going to answer.
yeah,
And Halloween, where kids go door to door, just because it's in your neighborhood, or especially when like people travel around, they go to neighborhoods that they're not familiar with
right.
because they want to hit as many areas as possible. I never got that, and that's something that like we see in our neighborhood all the time because I know most of the people around here, and there's people that drive to our neighborhood because like they want to trick or treat over by us, which I guess is kind of flattering, but at the same time, it's like I could be a crazy white person. You know what I mean? They're out there, people. I could be
It's always a
completely
white person.
unhinged and do this shit, and you don't know me. You don't know to stay the fuck away from my house. You don't. If I were to hand you
Yeah.
something that was off color, you wouldn't even be able to trace it back to me because you drove around and you hit 3 different fucking neighborhoods that day. How are you going to remember who gave you what? You know, like
Yeah.
I think that these are good cautionary tales. Like you can't just blindly, and yeah, maybe it's a shame, but moral of the story here: you can't just blindly trust everybody in the world, and you can't knock on everybody's door and expect them to just give you something.
Yeah, you're putting a lot of trust in strangers. I
You really
mean,
are. You really
that's
are.
for sure. Well, Halloween, like trick or treating isn't like it used to be. Like now, when people trick or treat, they are, when you look at your kid's candy bag this weekend, you'll notice that most of them are prepackaged, Kit Kats and Reese's and Snickers. And, when I was a kid, you'd have people making popcorn balls. And there was a guy that used to give out, he used to make cotton candy on the front porch and give it out. I mean, you'd have, and maybe you sometimes still have people like that, but it doesn't happen as often as it used to. So, like, when we're talking back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, I mean, there was definitely a lot more homemade goodies than there are, Remember the motherfucker that would give out a penny? Why? Why? I guess back then you could buy your own candy with a penny, but
Hey,
nowadays,
breaking news! Breaking news! James Gunn just quote tweeted me.
who's James Gunn?
The guy that directed Guardians of the Galaxy and
Oh,
Romeo and Juliet.
oh,
Yeah, look at that.
what's
So
he
it's
quote?
just to completely disrail this conversation. Somebody made a comment about how something about the Pentagon checks all of Marvel's scripts before they allow them to go into production. And James Gunn was like, "That's ridiculous. I've never heard such a thing." And I responded, "I always thought most studios had their scripts checked by the military because eventually they'll need to borrow tanks and shit, and they don't want to piss off their supplier." Which is something that I've honestly heard before, right? Like if you're making like Transformers and you need a bunch of F-18s, who are you going to go to? You're going to go to the fucking Air Force, right? No one else has that stuff. And if you're a movie studio that makes a bunch of action movies like Fast and the Furious and Transformers and Battleship, you know what I mean, and Top Gun 2, you're going to need all these military assets for your movies, okay? So that means that if you write a script about how the military is run by lizard people or that, the CIA killed JFK or something like that, they have leverage to say, you know what, maybe tone down that script a little bit, or else we're not going to let you use the 15 Abraham tanks that you need for Transformer 7, right?
Okay.
And this is something that I've heard and I've always believed. It sounds perfectly rational to me. And he tweeted me and said, "No, when a film uses military assets for free, those specific scripts have to get military approval to make sure the military isn't disparaged. This is very few films, and from what I know, the military is pretty loose about it." So actually, he agrees with me. He starts off by saying no, but then he actually agrees with me. When a film uses military assets like tanks and jets and whatever, those specific scripts have to get military approval to make sure the military isn't disparaged. But when you think about it, okay, so this specific film doesn't disparage the military. However, the same studio is releasing another film next month that does. You think that they're not going to include, you know what I mean? That they're not going to say, "Hey, well, if you want our tanks for movie A, you need to clean up the script for movie B." Like, of course they're going to.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So thank you for proving my point, James Gunn.
Well, James Gunn, do you ask him if he wants to come on the show and talk about it? I think that would be cool. Just work the show in there somehow. Well, that's pretty cool. All right. Well, okay.
All right. Anyway, back to Halloween.
Back to Halloween. I'm gonna go.
Hope these people follow me in the podcast. We might get a whole bunch of new podcasts.
Yay! Well, if you're here because James Gunn tweeted Pat, I hope that you are enjoying your listen. And yeah. Anyway, so. Well, that's cool then. And we talked about a bunch of UFO stuff before, military stuff and whatnot. Okay, anyway, back to Halloween. So, but no, you're right. People are putting a lot of trust into these individuals to, you know, give them food, things that they're going to put in their body.
Right.
But
Right. Right.
I
Right.
got a couple more. And
Okay.
then we can talk about a little bit more. In 1970, a 5-year-old boy died because he overdosed on heroin because he ate his uncle's heroin. And the family had blamed it on trick or treating. They were trying to cover it up, saying that it was given to him while he was trick or treating. Yep. And then also, even as recently as 2019, a man found razor blades in his child's trick or treat bag, and it's never really been solved. But who knows?
You
Yeah.
know, but when you talked about the guy putting candy on the laxatives and then giving them out, and I didn't find that believable until you said that it happened in like the 50s, and then it kind of sounded more believable because I could see some like cranky 1950s guy being like, "Ah, fuck these kids and their candy. Candy's, it's the devil's night."
He's a
Dressed up.
dentist.
Was he?
Did you catch that? Yeah, he's a dentist.
See what I mean? That's what I mean. Like, there's just unhinged people in our society that are high functioning and own property, and like, you know what I mean? Like, that's totally what it is. It's just cranky people that
Right.
want to like with
Right. And
agendas
like
and shit.
most of the other notable cases, from that point on, I mean, it's like children dying on beggars night, and it's not due to anything that has to do with candy or anything like that. It's just because they died because they are already very sickly and they died of, whatever illness took over them, or just different things. Maybe they got hit by a car, who knows, things happen.
Yeah, and
um
people trying to use Halloween as a cover for it.
right, and they'll be like,
But
oh, it's because they were trick-or-treating, and it's like, no,
even when I
no.
was at my youngest and most irresponsible, I would never give away weed to trick or treaters. Like,
Well, right. You know what? Yes. We're just
why?
going to say this. Fucking nobody is giving your kid drugs for free. Nobody. And if they are, you need to tell me where they live because
Right.
I want some of those free drugs.
I
You
remember
know,
them telling us that in Dare that like, well, drug dealers will sometimes give you a little bit at first for free to get you hooked.
no,
I've never met that drug dealer, and I've met a
never.
lot of different drug dealers, and I
Never.
still haven't met that unicorn. I'll let you know when they come across my fucking
Drug dealers are people too. I mean, everybody hates to say that. I mean, but like, I've had drug dealers that are like, "You don't want to buy this. Have you done this before?" I'm like, "No." They're like, "You're not buying this today from me." Like they believe it or not, like there are drug dealers with a conscience out there, and it does happen. But no, you're right. I've never had any of them. No, I mean, I've had friends, when they're my friends, offer, and sometimes I bought drugs from friends, but like they've offered me free drugs, but that's different.
right.
That's your friend. But even then, most of the time, they're not. They'll tell you where they got the shit from, but they're not going to give it to you, and so that really just depends. But the harder drugs, absolutely not. Absolutely. And usually it's just because they want somebody to do the drugs with. I mean, so no, they're not going to give your fucking kid drugs. Nobody wants to do drugs with your 7-year-old. Like, I promise. Like, nobody.
Especially, yeah, no one's giving your 11-year-old ecstasy so they can walk away and like do it somewhere else. Like,
Right. Right.
and they get to sit there and be like, I wonder if that kid's dying in front of his parents right now and they're trying to track me down. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Like,
Like, that's
nobody's doing that. I mean, so that's always silly. And like, I see the same post every year, and it's like people will show like edibles or whatever, and like they look like they're packaged like candies or snacks or whatever, because they do make that stuff. And because you can make anything an edible, right? You can make an edible anything with marijuana in it. But let me tell you something about edibles. They're fucking expensive. Like, that shit costs some good money. Nobody is buying, nobody's buying that stuff just to put in your kid's trick or treat bag. I promise you, your kid is not that important. That's just not happening. And then, like I said, as far as these other cases go, I mean, are there people out there that are unhinged? Like Pat was saying, yeah, absolutely. But look how many there are, in all this time that we've been doing this. Not
right.
many.
You have a million kids not knocking on a million different doors for the past, 80 years, and we have a handful of stories to show for it.
Right. Right.
That's pretty good if you
There's
think
like
about it.
two. There's like
You're
two
more,
on
you're
them.
more likely to be like getting a plane crash or something.
Exactly. And I mean, it's right. And people definitely, freak out about that kind of stuff, and that's just not okay. Now, another one that I didn't really get to research a lot that I kind of wanted to touch on just a bit, just to kind of talk about how, yeah, it makes sense, are like Halloween props that are real. So there have been instances of people, like I think there was one story where a guy was setting up a haunted house in his garage or something like that, and he accidentally hung himself, and everybody that came in thought that he was a prop, and he wasn't. It was actually a dude hanging there. And stuff like that has happened. Doesn't happen that often, you know. It's again, it's a freak fucking accident type of situation. Nobody's a serial killer and putting their bodies out in plain sight. Like that's not, you know, that's
Mm,
not happening. But there have been select isolated incidences where people have accidentally harmed themselves and people just assume that it was a prank or it was a prop or something like that. And I mean, there's really nothing much you can do about that to stop that from happening. So,
right.
you know, there's that as well. But that was one that I always thought was fascinating because it's disturbing. I mean, can you imagine walking by, you know, an actual body and finding out later that night that it is? But you know, I think I might have talked about this on the show before, but I'll talk about it again. On my mom's street, there was this really old man that lived in his house with his caretaker, and his daughter came to visit him for the first time, I guess, and fucking since she was a child, I'm assuming. And they couldn't get him to answer the door. And when they peeked through the window, there was a dead body there, and it was the guy's caretaker. The guy's caretaker had been dead in that house for 11 years, and
What?
he had just been living with the body, and nobody fucking knew about it. And like it was crazy. Like I said, it was on my mom's street, so like I lived on that same road with that dead body, like at some point in my life. For a couple of years during my teenage, I've walked by that house and just lived there. Nobody fucking knew there was some dead guy in that house, and you could see him through the fucking window, and nobody had any idea. And like now, granted, I don't think he wasn't like propped up against the window or anything like that, but like, yeah, this was something that had happened. I think back in 2018. And I had so many questions because again, this was the guy's live-in caretaker. This guy couldn't take care of himself. So if he couldn't take care of himself, how did he do it for 11 years without anybody knowing? You say nobody ever showed up to the house. Nobody ever knocked on the door and he opened up the door and it smelled like death. Nobody ever looked in that window and thought, "Oh, there's a dead guy there." You know, what about the guy's family? He never, and none of those questions have ever been answered. The house is just condemned and it just sits there now.
So what do you think? Do you think the reanimated corpse was taking care of him? Do you think that he was playing it up in the first place? That you know what I mean? Like he could take care of himself, or
Well, they said that like the guy had died of natural causes. He had died of like well, not he had like a heart attack or something, and he just died. And the guy didn't know what to do, so he just left the body there. I don't know. I mean, I just think people get so busy in their own lives that they don't really notice when things seem weird. So, like, I think that the guy's house probably was extremely gross. It was probably really gross. So, like, maybe if somebody did knock on the door and he did open it and it smelled like death, they just thought that it was because
oh
all
yeah.
sick people smell weird
When
and
I used to
probably
deliver
think.
pizzas, yeah, there was stinky motherfuckers all the time, and I was
Right.
just like, "Oh, that's
You just
that
mind your
guy's just
business.
right. It's just some
There's
fat,
probably a
smelly guy."
body in those houses.
Jeez, honestly, like in retrospect, yeah, maybe.
Right. And so I think that's just what happened. I think as sad as it is, nobody fucking cared enough. Because you got to think about that too. That means nobody came in that house in 11 years. That's fucking sad. That shouldn't happen. Then again, I don't know the guy. Maybe he's a piece of shit. Maybe he deserves it. I don't know. But
Yeah,
that makes me sad to think that maybe somebody, maybe he had been alone that whole time. And I don't know, maybe he found comfort in the fact that that guy, even though he was dead, his body was there. I don't know. I have no idea. We don't know. They never answered any of those questions. It's just like that one day we were here, we were sitting down to record, and a child got hit by a car right outside of my apartment. I don't know if I talked about it on the show or not. Um, there was never any news reports on it, but a child did get
yeah.
hit by a car. I don't know what happened. I don't know if the child lived. I don't know. I don't know who. I don't know what. No idea. No idea what ever happened. It's crazy the stuff that goes on that they don't report on. And
Mhm.
it's not like we're a big high crime. I mean, I know I say I live in Dayton. I don't actually live in Dayton. I live in a suburb of Dayton. We don't have a lot of crime. So when something does happen, usually it's reported on, but this was not. This was not. And then, like I said, there's no follow up. You get all these stories all the time. There's no follow up to it. So I don't know, man. It's weird, but that's not really a Halloween story, but it is really disturbing. So you're welcome.
True crime. True crime.
Both of them were really, really disturbing. Very sad stuff tonight, guys. Sorry, but yeah. So there's that. But I don't know. Do you have any other Halloween? I don't really have that much. There's not really that many. I mean, there's other stuff like the origins of Halloween and things like that. I mean, it came from somewhere.
Yeah, I don't think we need to contribute to that. There's enough fucking podcasts about the difference between Samhain and Samhain.
Right, and all that stuff. Yeah, I agree with you.
No, I actually I don't have anything. My Halloweens were pretty uneventful. Nothing crazy ever happened. I was always afraid of getting beat up by older kids. I think that was my biggest. That's what I was most afraid of on Halloween, was the mean old teenagers in our neighborhood kicking the shit out of me.
On Devil's Night?
No, on Halloween.
Just candy snatching. Here we go.
I mean, actually, most of my adolescence. I grew up in a neighborhood with a lot of kids, and yeah, there was a lot of kids older than me. There's a lot of kids younger than me, and like the older kids, if you were walking down the block and like you saw a group of teenagers walking your way, you would like cross the street just to not walk past those fucking teenagers. Like that's the neighborhood I grew up in. Like, not that they would like rob you and kill you or anything, but just because they, call you a fag and fucking knock you over or something.
Wow. Yeah. I hate those kind of kids.
Yeah, that was my nickname in high school. Hey,
faggot?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they weren't wrong.
Ah, Jesus. Look at you. Look at this one.
I'm allowed to say it. I'm mostly gay.
You and my wife would be fucking best friends, I swear. That's her favorite thing. Her favorite thing to talk about too.
There's nothing wrong with it, Pat. I accept you for who you are. Just
I'm not asking for your acceptance.
Well, I'm just telling you. We support faggots and sluts.
Yeah, quit appropriating my culture, okay? It's queer long before you fucking kids came along. Your fucking MySpace. All right. Fought battles, goddammit. So you could go buy this shit at Hot Topic.
Thank you for your service. Wow, I don't know what this has to do with Halloween, but happy Halloween. That's happy Halloweener. That's what we call it, because we're immature in my life. So it's and by we I mean myself. I call Halloween Halloweener. Yeah, I mean I just I have Halloween parties every year, and I dress up every year and carve pumpkins and all that fun stuff. I get drunk and I pull my titties out. That's my Halloween, and that's how I intend on spending it this year as well. So
awesome.
With that being said, be safe, guys. If don't drink and drive. Spay and neuter your pets. What else did I have? Did I have any other PSAs to throw out there?
I don't know.
Don't spill your bologna sandwich on your car, because you'll strip the paint. So, all right. Well, we will see you guys here next Wednesday.